connecting Slack and n8n. There has got to be a better way. Well, my name is Mike Murphy. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to actually connect Slack and n8n without ripping your hair out. I'm going to show you how to create a Slack app for n8n AI automation workflows. So you'll be able to send messages from Slack to n8n to trigger automation workflows and go in the reverse direction. So from n8n, you'll be able to send messages and files to a Slack channel. If you are watching this tutorial right now because you are frustrated, you have watched 10 tutorials that all did something differently. You've tried to set this up 100 times on your own and you just cannot seem to make it work. I understand. I'm going to save you a little bit of time because I know you've tried every single thing you can think of. In the Slack trigger, if your biggest issue is that you cannot get the channels to load, I know I had this issue. No matter what I did, every tutorial had a little test button over here. So I just click the test button and go back to the event subscriptions and the URL will work fine, but I couldn't get the channels to load. The trick is with the OAuth and permissions. Add more scopes and that problem will go away. I'm going to go over this more in detail later on in the tutorial, but I just wanted to call it out early. For those of you who are kind of in the thick of it and you just can't figure out that one step, try adding more scopes and see if that fixes the problem for you. So we are going to build a Slack app or a Slack bot. We are then going to go to n8n and build a simple workflow. There are two Slack nodes. The Slack trigger, this receives messages from Slack. Once I click send from Slack, that wakes up the Slack trigger and the automation begins. So the trigger receives the text, sends it over to the AI agent. There's a large language model attached to the AI agent node, so the LLM is going to process the text. And the output, or the text that is generated, is then sent to the second Slack node, which is going to take the text from the LLM and send it back to Slack. And I know you want to know the corny joke, so let's send it and test it out. In just a couple of seconds, I should get a response. Sure enough, why did the Scarecrow win an award? Because he was outstanding in his field. Here is the step-by-step guide on how to create a Slack app that you can use in n8n. I'm going to start from scratch. So I'm going to come up here and click on the plus icon and choose workflow. I'm going to rename it Slack n8n. I'm going to come over here and click save. I'm going to add a Slack node. So I'm just going to click search Slack. This is going to be on new message posted to channel. I'm not going to do anything right now. I'm just going to set this up. So this is a Slack trigger. I'll click plus, do Slack again, click message, send a message. I'm going to disconnect these. Now I'm going to add an AI agent and a large language model. So I'll come over here, click the plus, do a search for AI. I'll select the AI agent. I'll click this to add a model. I'm just going to use OpenAI chat model. I'll click GPT 4.1 mini is fine. Tidy things up. I'll connect the Slack trigger to the agent and then the agent to the outgoing Slack node. So now that we've got the basic n8n workflow all set up and ready to go, step one, we're going to go to Slack and create a new channel. Then we're going to go to the Slack API page and create a new Slack app or Slack bot. In the Slack API, we're then going to go to the OAuth and permissions page to set the scopes. This is basically the permissions. What is the Slack app allowed to do? In step 3, we're going to go back to n8n and we're going to set the credentials for the Slack nodes. This is basically going to give it permission for n8n to be able to talk to Slack through the API. Step 4 is a real bugger. We're going back to the Slack API where we're going to the event subscriptions. We're going to make sure that the webhook is working from n8n to Slack. And we're also going to set the subscriptions, what the app should be listening for. Step 5, we go into Slack and we add our new Slack bot to the new channel that we created. And in step 6, we bring it all together and we make sure that our n8n automation works. So we can send messages from Slack to n8n, and then we can go from n8n back to Slack. And before you head off to create the app, be sure to save your n8n workflow. First, we'll create a new channel in Slack. There's several ways to do so. I'm just going to right-click on channels, go to create, and choose create channel. I'm going to call this n8n land. Click next, click create. Skip for now, done. Open a web browser and go to api.slack.com/apps. And if you start at this step, you will have to sign into your Slack account. In the top right, click the button that says Create New App. Choose From Scratch. So just click. Give your app a name. I'm calling this one Finbar. Pick the workspace to develop your app in. So choose your workspace, click Create App. These are the credentials that n8n needs in order to access the Slack API. So we're going to be coming back to this page when it is time to set the credentials in n8n. And just as an FYI, I'm going to be exposing all of the secret keys that you should never, ever, ever expose, but I'm going to be deleting this app as soon as I'm done making this tutorial. First stop, we're going to come over here and go to OAuth and permissions. We're going to scroll down to where we see scopes. This is the Slack app's capabilities and permissions that we're setting here. So the scopes that you give the app is what it is allowed to do. This is the part in the tutorial where you might call me crazy, or it may just be exactly what you needed to make this thing work. So after the 49th time of going back and forth between the Slack API and n8n, sometimes getting the nodes to work, most of the times not, I went back to the n8n docs, which I didn't find all that helpful, but I went to the scope section and I just read, here's a list of the scopes OAuth Credential requires, which are a good starting point. Now, up until then, I'd only been using about 6 to 8 different scopes on the page, and I thought, well, what would happen if I just put all these in, which it says they're required? I don't think you need all of these, but once I put all of these in, sure enough, all of the channels populated and pretty much all of the issues that I was having before went away. I added this entire list, and where it says not available as a bot token scope, when you're adding scopes, there's 2 types. The bot token scopes are really the most important ones. I added all those, and where it says not available, I added those as user token scopes, and I just added 4 of those. To add the scopes, start at the bot token scope section and just click add an OAuth scope. I just went down the list. Just do a search, apps mentioned, tap the return key, and add it. Assistant. This is probably overkill or inefficient, and probably all of these scopes are not required. But for the little time that it takes and the problems that it solved for me, I thought it was definitely worth it. So once I added all of the bot token scopes, I added these 4 to the user token scopes below. So just click add an OAuth token scope. I'll do channels, history, tap the return key. Channels right. What's nice is when you add one, it disappears from the list, so you don't have to go through it again. I'll do stars, read, and stars, right. Once you finish adding all of the scopes, you are then going to install the app to your Slack workspace. And once you do that, it is going to create the OAuth token credentials that we need to bring over to n8n. So you're going to scroll up to where it says OAuth tokens, and you're going to click install, and it should be the name of your Slack workspace. So first we click, and you're going to get a second screen. You should see your workspace name here. These are all the app permissions that you gave it, so you can review here. You're going to click install, and it's going to be the name of your Slack app. For me, that's Finbar. Fin for short. Okay. Here is the OAuth token, or the access token that you're going to put in the Slack credentials in n8n. And this is like an API key. So you never ever want to expose it like I'm doing here. 2 things I'm going to point out about the OAuth and permissions page. So once you've installed the app like we just did, if you make changes to the scopes, maybe you delete a scope, maybe you add a new scope, you're going to get this scary yellow bar across the top that tells you, uh-oh, you've changed your permissions. You need to reinstall the app. Don't worry. That's just saying, okay, you've already installed the app. You made changes or you made updates to the permissions. You just need to update the app. And that's just all you have to do is just reinstall it. It's going to take you back to that page where you can review. You click reinstall, and that's it. Then the other thing is this redirect URL section. There's nothing that you need to put here. We are going to be putting the webhook URL in the event subscriptions page. So now that we have our OAuth, or the authorization token that we need for n8n, I'm going to copy this to my clipboard, and we're going to go back and set the credentials for our Slack node. We're going to come back here though and go to the basic information page, because we're also going to need our signing secret. So back in n8n, I'm going to set the credential for the Slack trigger node. I'll double click to open the node, go to Credential to connect with, click, and choose Create New Credential. So the access token field. This is the OAuth token from the OAuth and permissions page. I'm just going to click, and I'm going to paste in our OAuth token. Now signature secret. Remember, that is on the basic information page. This is the first page we went to. We're going to go to signing secret. I'm going to show it to you just so you can see it. Again, we're never going to reveal these things, but I'm going to copy that, Command C. I'll go back in. I'm going to paste it in, and V. Did you know that you could rename the credentials in n8n? So I'm just going to click. I'm going to call this Slack trigger. Then I'm going to click Save. Connection tested successfully. Nice. I'm going to close down this credential window. Before I go back to the canvas, for me, the area that I was having the most trouble with was getting the channels to populate consistently. Sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't, and I figured out that it had to do with the scopes that you added. So when I click this, I should see all of my Slack channels. Sure enough, there they all are. I'm going to select the n8n LAN channel that we created at the beginning. And as soon as I do so, I get that test, or the execute step button, which was driving me crazy, because you need it for the next step, but I couldn't get the channels to populate until I added all of the scopes. I learned this lesson the hard way. You do not want the trigger on field set to the default new message posted to channel, because this is going to create an infinite message loop between n8n and Slack. So you're going to click the X to get rid of this, and you're going to choose Bot App Mention. One more precautionary step that you can take in n8n to prevent any accidental looping between n8n and Slack. Come down to Options, click on Add Field, and choose Usernames or IDs to ignore. And then just choose the name of your Slack app. I'll choose Finbar. But I'm going to go back to the canvas and set a second set of credentials for the second Slack node. I'm going to go to the second node where we're sending the message back to Slack. I'm going to double click to open. Now I found that using the same Slack API credential that we use for the trigger also worked for the second Slack node that sends the message. So you could just select this one, or if you want to keep them separate and maybe do some experimenting by adding the OAuth 2 later, you can create a new credential. For the access token, we're going to go back to the OAuth and permissions and copy this OAuth token, paste it in the access token field. Signature secret, we'll go back, go to the basic information, signing secret. We're going to copy that, Command C, and paste it. I'm going to rename this just so I can keep them separate. I'll call this one Message. Then I'm going to click Save, and I should get the green message again, telling me that the connection was successful. I've got the credential set to Slack message. For the send message to, I'm going to choose channel, and from the list, I should have all my channels. There they are, n8n, and I'm just going to put, hey there. Let's do a save, which I always forget to do until it's too late. And I just want to point out that our workflow is currently set to inactive. This is going to be a really important thing to train your eyes to look at. If things are not working, just check. Is the workflow inactive or active? This comes into play with the webhooks. You use the test URL when the workflow is inactive. You use the production URL when it is active. This is going to make more sense when we go over our next step, which is at the Slack API and the event subscriptions page. The event subscriptions, this is basically telling our app what it should be listening to, what things it should subscribe to. For example, when a user adds a reaction or creates a file, our app should say, oh, that's me. So I'm going to click this, turn it to on. So first I'm going to come here to where it says subscribe to bot events. I'm going to add 4 events. The first one I'm going to add to the bot user event is app message_mention. Click. Add another one, message.channels. Click. Message.groups. Message.im. So now our app or bot is subscribed or listening to events that are relevant, such as direct messages or mentions. If this request URL field has been the bane of your existence, we're going to change that right now. But I just want to point out, as soon as you paste in the URL or the webhook, this gets to work trying to verify it. So it sends this little challenge parameter, and if it doesn't get the response back right away, you get an error message. We're going to resolve that or fix it. We're going to go back to n8n. I'm going to double click on the Slack trigger to open it. We're going to go to webhook URLs. We haven't activated the workflow, so we're in test URL. You just have to click to copy the webhook to your clipboard. We're going to beat that field to the punch by clicking execute step. Now it is listening for the test event. So we're going to come over here, and when we paste it, we should get the green. How do you like that? Verified. Don't celebrate and forget to go to the very bottom and click on Save Changes. And we are no longer scared of this yellow message because we are in control of this process. So all we have to do is just reinstall the app. It's going to take us to that place where we were before, and we're just going to click Install. Green success. We are good. We are on to step 5. We're going to go to Slack, and we're going to add our new Slack app to the new channel that we created. So I'm going to jump into Slack. I have n8n land selected. I'm just going to send a message. I'll start with the @ symbol. Then I'm just going to start typing out Finbar. There's Finbar, not in the channel, but we're going to change that. So I'm going to select it. I'll type, hey Fin, tap return. As soon as you do that, you're going to get this message from the Slack bot saying, hey, you mentioned Finbar, but he's not in this channel. Do you want to add them? Yes, we want to add them. That's all you have to do. Let's click Save for best practice. And let's click Execute Workflow and just see what happens. So the trigger is waiting for you to create an event in Slack. Cool. So let's go to Slack. Wake up, Fin. Yo. You there? I'll tap return. Problem in AI agent. So we have the problem here, but the trigger worked. I'm going to double click the agent. I'm going to change the source from connected trigger mode. I'm going to change it to define below. And for the prompt, I'm going to come over here to the text. So that is the from Fin. I'm going to drag it on here. The error message was that the AI agent didn't have a prompt. It didn't know what to do. So now we send in a message from Slack. It goes to the trigger. We take the text that we sent from Slack and we bring the text to the AI agent. The AI agent gives it to the chat model. So let's just click execute step and see what happens. The chat model works. The human said, yo, you there? And the AI agent said, hey, I'm here. How can I help you? How's that? I'm going to go back to the canvas. Now we just have one more node, the Slack message one. I'm going to double click to open that. So we have the right credential selected, the Slack message. Send message to a channel. The channel is n8n land. The message type, simple text message. Now the message text, this was just a placeholder text. I'm going to replace that. I'm going to go to the AI agent, the output from our AI or the LLM. I'm just going to drag that into the message text. Let's execute the step. And when you look at that, in the Slack channel, we got the message from the LLM. Hey there, how can I help you? It is working. And a bonus tip while we're here, because you might have seen this in other apps that you've used, such as Telegram, WhatsApp, etc. At the bottom, it says automated with this n8n workflow with a link back to the workflow. Now, you might want this, or it might drive you crazy. If you want to turn it off, go down the bottom where it says options and click add an option. For this, we're going to choose include link to workflow. All we have to do is just toggle it off. Now, when you execute the step again, notice that message is gone. Pretty cool. Let's go back to the canvas. Everything is working. Okay, while we're on a roll, we're going to click save. And now for the last piece of the puzzle. When you change from inactive to active, you need to go back to event subscriptions and make sure that you update the request URL, or you're going to change it. So it's currently set to test because our workflow is inactive. But when it's active, we need to change the test and use the production URL. So let's open the Slack trigger by double-clicking. I'll go to Webhook URLs. I'm going to change it from test. I'll click production. I'm just going to click to copy the production URL. I'll go back to the canvas. And now I'm going to click to activate this workflow. Go back to the Slack API to event subscriptions. I'm going to click change. For the new request URL, I'm going to paste in our production URL. So there's no test. It's going to immediately start to look for it, and it is verified. Everything is still working. Do not make this mistake. When you change out the URL from the test to the production, be sure to go to the bottom and save the changes. So now it is going to be using the production URL. So when the n8n workflow is active and you have the production URL in the event subscriptions, your Slack app is always listening. Now the only thing left to do is to test it out and make sure it's working. So we'll jump into Slack. I have n8n LAN channel selected. I'm going to come down to the message, call up my buddy Finn at Finbar. When I see it, I can just tap enter. And now I can ask any question I want, just like you're chatting with any AI assistant, about what AI skills do I need to know to crush it in 2026. Keep the response brief in a numbered list. Now we should get something back. Well, what do you know? It worked like a charm, and it actually looks like a pretty good list of AI skills to know in 2026. Remember, when the workflow is active, your Slack bot is listening. So any device where you have Slack, I'll call up Finbar. Tell me a good knock-knock joke. Same joke I've heard before, but knock-knock, who's there? Lettuce. Lettuce who? Let us in. It's cold out here. If you plan on deactivating the workflow, maybe you're doing a bunch of testing and modifying the workflow. When you go to deactivate, go into the Slack trigger, go to the webhooks, go to the test one, click to copy, go back into the Slack API, go to event subscriptions, click change, put in the test, Command V, and it should verify right away. And remember to always save changes. And now you can go back in and everything should work fine. When the workflow is inactive, if you go into Slack and you call up Finbar or call up your app, when you're going to be waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. You're not going to get a response while it's inactive. When you're ready to activate again, go into the Slack trigger, go to the Webhook URLs, go to production URL, and copy it by just clicking. Toggle it on to active. Go to the Slack API event subscriptions, click change, paste in the production URL. Notice this one had test, the production one does not. It verified, saved the changes. Now we'll go to Slack. Call it Finbar. Hey Finn, what qualities make a good lighthouse keeper? We should get a response back since the workflow is now active again. How about that? Reliability, attention to details, self-reliance, patience, perseverance, alertness, physical fitness, strong sense of duty. It's like I was made to be a lighthouse keeper. I am not a genius, but I am pretty tech savvy. And connecting Slack to n8n is unnecessarily complicated. It's not even hard. There just wasn't a logical workflow that I could find documented. And after failing many, many times, sometimes I got it to work, sometimes partially I got it to work, and I would try to recreate it again, and I could never consistently recreate it. Well, I did not give up. I just kept trying and trying and trying. And what I showed you today has worked every single time. I hope it has helped some of you, but that is how you create a Slack app or a Slack bot, which you can then use in n8n to send you notifications to and from Slack. My name is Mike Murphy, your AI handyman. Cheers.